What's up, MMO Attack fans? This is Zach here, bringing you a first impressions video for Forge, a brand new free-to-play arena-based combat MMORPG developed by indie company Darkveil Games. Forge claims to be a bit of a unique animal. It prides itself in being an MMORPG with absolutely no grind involved. And well, that's only true in part. First of all, Forge really isn't an MMORPG in the truest sense. It's essentially WoW-style PvP without any of the PvE content involved. The only time you will spend not killing other players is spent navigating menus. In that sense, it's not a lot different than a third-person Call of Duty. Even so, I had a good time with it. The thing that really struck me about the game was the graphics. The graphics are very well done, especially for an indie title. They're technically impressive, but they also shine artistically. The game carries a dark, gritty vibe and is reminiscent of a third-person Skyrim, although some spell effects could be better. Map variety is a little weak. I understand this is a recently released indie game, but nevertheless there are only about 4 maps to choose from. Now, while they are large and unique, more map variety would have been nice, as the existing maps quickly get repetitive. Though I can kind of understand, because in a PvP-oriented game, it kind of is important to memorize existing maps, more so than to constantly play in new ones. Now, the gameplay itself is fairly standard. Essentially, this is hotkey MMO combat, with the only difference being your weakest skill is also bound to your left mouse button, giving you the illusion of real-time combat. If you like WoW-inspired PvP, you should enjoy the gameplay in Forge. If not, it's probably not going to impress you much over the long haul. The game does a nice job of teaching new players the ropes before throwing them to the wolves. Players complete a basic tutorial teaching them the basics of the game, before moving on to another tutorial that is specific to each class that teaches them the basics of playing the class in the game, showcasing which skills are most useful in which situations. There's also a training mode in the game that allows you to fight against bots, or alone, or to fight against bots in a team with other players. Other multiplayer modes include your standard team deathmatch, King of the Hill, and Arena. There are 5 classes in the game. Each of them possesses a unique playstyle and skill set. Assassins are the game's stealth class. They use melee attacks but can slow their opponent when attacking via stealth. The Pathfinder is the class I played and is essentially the Ranger class. They attack at range with a bow and have numerous abilities which let you slow down opponents, drop traps, and poison enemies. They also have one unique ability which lets them swap places with their target, meaning you can drop a trap at your feet and immediately port the enemy player directly over the trap. The Pyromancer is the caster class. They have a number of DOTs, such as a curse that can be only lifted when in close proximity to their allies, and an ability which completely engulfs the player in flames for a number of seconds. Now, the Shaman is the game's healer class. Their basic attack is a heal ability, but they can also buff allies and slow down enemies. Now, last but not least is the Warden. The Warden is basically the game's version of a tank class. Wardens are slow and not very agile, but they use heavy armor and can take more than a few hits. They can buff allies, stun, and charge enemies. Character customization does play a minor role in the game. The more you use a certain class, the more you will level up with them. Leveling up allows players to increase their proficiency with their skills and add stat points. Players can also customize armor by buying new gear at the store with currency they've earned in-game or purchased with real money. Now, combat in the game is fairly fast-paced. Players can even wall jump as a means to get away from an enemy or to reach a new area of the map. But again, player combat is largely limited to the same style of play that you'll find in traditional MMOs. And the actual combat animations aren't all that impressive either, and attacks don't really feel all that impactful, and in fact, if you play a ranged class like the Pathfinder, sometimes it's even hard to see if you're actually hitting your opponent. All in all though, Forge is a decent game. Its core gameplay is quite solid, though the game's feature set and presentation are quite lacking. If you want to find out more about Forge, head on over to the game's official website. If you want to find out more about MMO Attack, head on over to MMOattack.com and sign up for our forums to talk MMOs with gamers from all over the world.